Hi, this is your teacher Paul. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make French bread. For this recipe, I'm going to use 2 cups of warm water, 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. This helps the bread. 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, 3 cups of flour. To make bread, I use a large mixing bowl, a smaller bowl. I use this for the yeast and the water. A measuring cup. This is another measuring cup. I usually use this one for the flour. A whisk for mixing things, and a spoon. This is a wooden spoon. I also use this for mixing things. A tablespoon for measuring the yeast and the sugar. I also use my hands when I'm making the bread. You'll also need a bowl like this to put the dough into as it rises. First, pour the water into a bowl and then add the yeast. This is 1.5 tablespoons of yeast and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Then mix these together . You let this sit for about 10 minutes until it becomes foamy. Put 2 cups of flour into a large bowl. Add a tablespoon of salt. Mix the salt and the flour together. It takes about 10 minutes for the water and the yeast and the sugar to rise and get foamy. You can see it's a little foamy here. Add the yeast and the sugar and water to the flour and the salt. And stir together for about 3 minutes. After it looks kind of like this, then you can add in 1 more cup of flour. When the dough is kind of sticky like this, then you can add in more flour, about 3 more cups. At this point, I usually use a spoon to mix the dough. When the dough looks like this, then I start to use my hands and I knead the flour into the dough. I'm kneading the dough. Next, I put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of a bowl and then place the dough in the bowl. I lightly cover it with the oil and then cover the dough with some sort of plastic wrap and put the lid back on the bowl and then let the bowl rise in a warm place for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. After the dough rises, you can take it out of the bowl and then cut it into 3 sections. Form each section into a loaf. And cover the loaves with plastic wrap. And let them rise for 40 minutes. Preheat the oven to 450 degrees. Place a baking stone in the oven to let it get hot for 20 minutes. Take the plastic off of the loaves and carefully place each loaf onto the baking stone. You can cut across the top of each loaf a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch deep. Brush a glaze of egg and water onto each loaf. This helps to prevent the bread from drying out or burning in the oven. Put the loaves of bread into the oven for 35 to 40 minutes. It's a good idea to use a timer. I'm going to set this to 35 minutes. 35 minutes. You can take the bread out of the oven. Put the loaves onto a rack to let them cool.